Hey guys, today I'm here to talk to you really quickly about the different parts that make up the Triggertrap shield. It's not very hard, but I figured because some of you won't be that familiar with electronics, I'll give you a quick talk through anyway, so you know what the different parts do, what you should be looking for when you put the Triggertrap together. Right, so the final device is going to sit on top of your Arduino. And because of that, this is basically a piggyback device. In Arduino world, that's known as a shield. So what this does is that you buy a Arduino and you load the correct software onto it for the Triggertrap. Then you place this shield on top of your Arduino. And it fits perfectly, which means that all the pins on the Arduino are being used by the Triggertrap. And you get a device that has all the functionality you want from a camera trigger. Right, let's start taking a look at this. On the right, you see a unused Triggertrap board, which is the same type as you will get when you buy your Triggertrap shield. So on the top left here, we have a tactile momentary switch. That basically means that when you press it down, it makes a connection, and when you let go again, it's gone. It's called tactile because it gives a little click sound when you press it down, so you know when it's been pressed. We have 5 of these. There's a big one, and then we have 4 smaller ones. Each one has a different function, and it's printed above what it does. So this one's the mode button, this one's the select button, and we have the up and down buttons. Down the side here, we have a row of little dots. Now these little dots are basically the pins that you can see better here. These are the pins that connect down into the Triggertrap. So they look a bit strange from above, but from the other side it makes sense. These are just simple solder points that make the connection. Then here we have a photodiode. This is a little sensor that helps the Triggertrap see the ambient light sensor you will be using when you take pictures of stuff like lightning, or if you want the Triggertrap to be used as a slave flash trigger. Here we have our laser sensor. That's another photodiode, but this one has been covered in a heat shrink wrapper, which means that all the ambient light is hidden from it, and only the light that comes in from the bottom here gets measured. This is perfect for the laser beam, which points straight in here, and then we can measure properly when a laser beam has been broken or not. Right, let's move along a little bit further. This round thing we have here is our microphone, which is being used for the sound sensor. It's being amplified by this little transistor here, and then taken into the chip for analysis. Move along further, we have an infrared LED. That's this little thing here. Now this little device can actually transmit infrared signals to your camera, or for that matter for anything else. If you can think of anything you can program that can be controlled with infrared, you can add the codes to the Triggertrap and then use it. For example, you could use it to clap your hands to turn your TV on and off or whatever. So that one's fine. The next thing we have here is this row of pins. This is a pin header that's being used when we plug the screen onto the Triggertrap. The screen is not shown in this picture because it would cover some of the other components we're looking at. But basically it just slots into place there and then the screen starts working. In the middle here, we have this big NXP marked integrated circuit. This is a register bus. The reason we're using that is that the Arduino only has so many pins, and the Triggertrap uses a lot more pins than we have available. We use this register bus mostly to control the screen. Right, up here we have 2 interesting things. This one is used to trigger your camera. It's a 3.5mm stereo headphone jack. This is where you plug in your camera lead to trigger your camera. Right next to it, this little square integrated circuit here, is our optocoupler. This thing is what protects your camera from the Triggertrap and vice versa. So what's happening here is that there is inside, on this side, there's a pin with a little LED on it. It lives inside this box. So there's 2 of them, there's one here and one there. Now when a signal gets sent through here, the LED lights up, and when the LED lights up, it lets power stream through here. The same thing happens up here. Power goes through, LED goes on, and power gets let through here. Now the reason we've done that is that because this is done with light, there is no actual electrical connection between your camera and a trigger trap. It's not completely fail-proof. If your trigger trap were to be struck by lightning, there's a good chance that your camera will go. But in theory, anyway, it's quite well protected. Right. On the other side here, we have an auxiliary port. This is an RCA plug where you can plug in whatever sensors you want, really. And this is the way you can interact with the trigger trap using sensors that aren't already built in. The final thing I want to point out here is this little thing here in the middle, the round thing in the middle. This is a capacitor, which is the only capacitor on here that is directional, which means you have to be quite careful that you plug it in the right way. If you plug it in the wrong way, it won't work. So we have a couple of other things on here as well. We have a transistor here and a transistor here. Now these transistors are being used for two things on a trigger trap. One of them is used as a simple amplifier for the microphone. The other one is used to control the infrared LED. The other things we have on here are capacitors. They're the little yellow things. These are ceramic capacitors. They're being used for regulating and normalizing signals that go through. This little row, for example, is being used to control the buttons, to make sure that when you press a button, an even signal gets sent through the trigger trap. The final thing we have quite a few of here on the trigger trap are resistors. These are the little things with the stripes on them. Now, resistors can be used for all sorts of different things. They are pretty awesome, and they are used in just about any electronics project you could possibly think of. I won't go into too much depth about exactly what they do. There's an entire different lesson you can do about that. I'd suggest to read up on them if you're not quite sure what the resistors do. But they're really interesting to know a little bit more about what they do. And as you're putting your trigger trap together, you'll probably figure out what each of them do as you trace how they're connected. Now that we've talked a little bit about how all the different parts fit together, in the next video we'll see how to actually build one of these. So we'll go from the unfinished board on the right to your completed board on the left. Don't worry, we'll be taking it quite nice and slowly, so you can follow along with the video as you build your own trigger trap. Right, well, thank you for watching, and if you haven't ordered a trigger trap shield yet, now's the time.